1Xtra.
Welcome to BBC Radio 1Xtra's exclusive advanced screening of Black Panther and a Q A live in London.
That's right. Now, my name is Ace, and today we have got a very, very exciting session for you guys.
And I'm Dotty from the 1Xtra Breakfast Show, live weekdays from 6 a.m.
Right, now this evening we have some special guests lined up for you, and our Q&A will be streamed live on the 1Xtra Facebook page and also the Marvel page. It's going to be live on there today. Right now, actually. It's live.
Like, literally.
Like this second.
Like it's live. They're watching us
right now.
In this very moment.
Okay. First, let's check out the trailer for the Black Panther movie.
I have seen gods fly. I've seen men build weapons that I couldn't even imagine. I've seen aliens drop from the sky.
Yeah.
But I have never seen anything like this. How much more are you hiding?
Hold up. Let's go.
We are home. My son, it is your time.
Show me my respect and bow down.
You get to decide what kind of king you are going to be. Don't freeze.
I never freeze.
The revolution will not be televised.
Show me my respect and bow down. We own ya. We own ya. We only getting started now. Cause we own ya. Everybody think they know me now. Cause we own ya. You and I'm a homie now. Cause we own ya.
I waited my entire life for this. The world's gonna start over. I'ma burn it all.
What happens now determines what happens to the rest of the world.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out.
Wakanda forever!
The revolution will not be televised.
Let's have some fun.
The revolution will be live.
You lot seem mad calm, you know. You're hand-picked, selected few that get to watch this.
You're the chosen one.
So I need you to give a big Wakanda welcome to some very, very special guests, all right? This first actress you last saw in the finale of Black Mirror. She's homegrown. She kills it. We're so incredibly proud of her. Make some noise for Letitia Wright! Who are these?
All right, coming up next to the stage, an Oscar-winning actress.
Buffeting. Oh,
Peng.
like mud.
Just levels.
It's beautiful.
Just amazing. Just melanin. Just
Wow. Just chocolate brown.
wow. So, make some noise for Lupita Nyong'o.
Who are these? And this next actor, you saw him in Fruitvale Station and Creed. He's the gal dem sugar. He's the baddie in this movie. Make some noise for Michael B. Jordan. Look at all this chocolate. It's just.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Happy birthday.
You know when you're a true fan and you need to let him know that you checked his Wikipedia, and I need him to know. Is it your birthday?
It is, it is.
We'll sing that to you later. All right.
you, guys.
Now we're going to open the floor to questions shortly, but I have a question that I need to start with, because Black Panther is a movie that is for everyone, that everyone seems to be really excited for, but it seems to hold particular weight already amongst black people. Lupita, as someone from Kenyan heritage, how important was it to you for Africa to be seen globally in such a positive light?
It was extremely important. I mean, I wanted to be an actor because I wanted to tell stories about people who look like me. I mean, I have no choice but to tell stories about people who look like me. But I was starved for these kinds of images as a child. And so it's like a mandate of mine to really demystify what it means to be African. I'm a child of the continent, and I feel like I'm a citizen of the world. And I am modern and urban, and I value my traditions. And when Ryan talked to me about this script, I was so floored by how full of integrity his story was going to be. And I know that we all felt a deep desire to tell a story that's felt specific, that felt rich, that was informed by real African context. Because though the film is based in a fictitious nation, in order for it to come across authentically, we really had to draw from things from the continent. So every aspect of Wakanda is pulling from cultures all over the continent. The diversity of culture on the continent is being respected and celebrated in a way that we don't often get to see on the scale. And we're looking we pulled from ancient cultures that are unfortunately disappearing, and we bring them to the fore. And because Wakanda is a country that was never colonized, what we see is how those traditions would have modernized on their own, you know, and just the imagination of what could we have been had we not been assaulted by colonialism, you know. And then so this film is celebrating that ancient wealth that we have, that we overlook too often, and then offering us a view of a future that we can then create if we can imagine it.
Wow.
There it is.
Wow.
Should we just finish it? Should we just wrap up the Q&A? I'm mesmerized. She opened her mouth and it was like birds were singing. I forgot the question. Ace.
We saw the film yesterday. The music is amazing. I had the opportunity this morning to play the entire soundtrack on my show. Do any of you guys have a favorite record from the soundtrack?
I haven't heard it yet.
Wait, the soundtrack has been released.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm so late.
I had an
busy. We
exclusive.
don't even.
I've been. That's not fair.
I mean,
You
Ryan,
have-
Ryan played it to me. Yeah, oh, he didn't play it for y'all?
No, he played
that's
it for me
crazy.
like
That's crazy.
one
He
song.
played like one song for me. He played the Nakia song, so of course that's my favorite.
I mean, King's Dead is pretty
Yeah, because it
dope.
has the
Yeah,
name
that's all.
Killmonger in it.
Is that what it was?
Bias.
It does?
Yeah, it's your
Bias.
perspective.
Crazy. Pray for Me is pretty cool.
Just going for the track
Redemption
listing
is
now.
dope. I mean, the whole
This is great.
album is pretty spot on. You know what I'm saying?
It is a great soundtrack. Something that I was really impressed by in the movie was the ability of the cast to hold African accents. Because quite often, you know, like the Cool Runnings effect, where they kind of break out of accent and they're like, is that Scottish? The African accents were so strong, so incredible, and really done justice to the Africans. Because people are going to watch this from all over Africa, all over the world. How important was it to you to nail that accent, and what preparation did you kind of use to get into it?
Oh man, it was so important. Firstly, I'm not from the continent of Africa.
Diana
from
in the building.
I'm from South America. Sorry, my voice is really hoarse. Sorry, guys. Been working hard today. So I was super nervous. I didn't want to let anybody down. I didn't want to let myself down or my teammates down. And I didn't want to let, you know, like South Africa down, because that's where we were pulling from. So we worked with Beth Maguire a lot. My first day, I was literally so scared. I was like, God, how am I going to do this? But we chugged away. She found a way to just teach us the accent in her own way. Like, she figured out what worked for us, and she adapted around that. And then
She's the dialect coach.
yeah, she's the dialect coach for Marvel.
And I'd worked with her at school. I went to the Yale School of Drama, and that's where I met her. And she studies African accents, and so it's all about figuring out. You know, an accent is, you can go about it just with your gift, if you're a mimic, but you can also go about it very technically. And so she breaks down the technical.
Yeah,
really
I'm
well.
not technical at all. I'm not into phonetics and stuff like that
Right.
because I ain't drama school trained like that. But I'm a listen. I listen.
listener, yeah.
Have you still got it? Can you still do the accent?
Oh, please.
Can
no.
you please just watch the film? Pressure.
Can I just ask, Lupita, as somebody that is from the continent, what's better, Ghanaian jollof rice, Nigerian jollof rice?
Please come
Oh,
correct.
what's the-
I am
what's
a
the
diplomat. I am a diplomat.
What's Wakandan jollof rice saying? Is it?
Oh, Wakandan. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you were going to ask me between Ghanaian and Nigerian. I don't want to get in that
We
war.
already know it's Ghanaian.
Is there jollof rice in Wakanda?
Huh?
Is there jollof rice in Wakanda?
Well, I think jollof rice was made in Wakanda.
All right, let's get to somebody.
Any questions?
Any
from
questions
you
from the
guys?
audience?
My name's Reese. I just want to ask the cast, really. Dotty kind of touched on it a little bit. But how important was representation for you guys when you were growing up watching the movies?
Oh man, I think that was super important. Unfortunately, we didn't have that many, growing up on screen. But watching this movie, I was thinking back to like my 10-year-old self, like what he would had, like how would watching this film impact my 10-year-old self, and as far as inspiring him, inspiring me, what I thought was possible, thinking about the kids watching this film, the little girls watching, such strong black, women on screen, what that's going to do for their confidence, what they think they can achieve. I think we don't even really understand the real impact of what this film is going to do, 10 years from now. So, I think representation is extremely important. So, to be a part of this project was like epic for that reason alone.
We got another one down here. If we can get a mic to the front row.
I've got a question to you, because you're a Londoner. What do you feel like socially and culturally this movie would impact us today?
Oh man, I really feel that it will do a lot. I'm blown away by it because I've never seen this before. I've never seen us portrayed in this image before as black people. Man, like I was gonna shed some thug tears last night because it was so beautiful, and I really feel like. No, honestly, I was. Yeah. I shed thug tears all the time. But honestly, it's once you really take on board the film. Yes, it's sci-fi. Yes, it's fictional, but it also just reflects, like what Lupita was saying, what Africa can be and what we can be, and it gives hope. And there's little kids on social media dressing up as these characters, believing that they're kings and they're queens. And that culturally is gonna shift a lot, because then they start thinking differently, and then they start holding themselves differently, and they don't see themselves as beneath but above. Do you know what I mean? So I feel it's gonna do a lot. And not only just for black people, but for other people as well, other races too, to just have an insight into, oh man, it's so huge. Just have an insight to this world, into another image of the continent. It's been projected for so long, slavery, this, that, and it's like we don't see another side to it. Genuinely, when people send me images of lovely buildings and lovely houses from Ghana and Nigeria, I'm in shock. Because I'm like, what? Like, this exists? But they've been feeding us something for so long to make us feel like, that's not real. So I feel like this film will positively contribute to just change and us seeing ourselves in a different way, and hopefully spark the mind of other people to move forward positively. I don't know. I feel it's gonna just be positive.
And just to build on top of that, yeah, that's epic.
I did someone just do a bird.
No, and,
I love you
and what you were
guys.
saying is not just for for Africans also. It's when we were in South Korea, we had journalists come in and they were dressed in their traditional garb from where they were from, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and it's inspiring people to be proud of who they are and where they're from. Culture is so important. So yeah, it's not as you know, because we're not going to let people try to change the narrative and make it only a black film. It's only about us. And it is so much because it hasn't been for a really long time. Super important. But we want to include everybody. It's a worldly thing. We got to let this thing spread everywhere. That's super important also.
We got any more questions?
Hi, hello, I'm Chidera. Hey, I'm good. How you doing? How do you feel that this film will change the way we view power dynamics between black men and black women?
I knew she was going to ask a tricky question.
Well, I want to respond to how I feel it ought to impact male and female dynamics, because I think it's important that it's not a racial thing. This is actually just a human thing. What Wakanda offers us is a look into an idyllic society where the country has come to the realization that in order for the country to move forward most effectively, it needs to allow all its citizens to realize their full potential. So you see women holding positions of power, and they are allowed to assume those positions, and they're not threatening the men. The men are supportive of those women, and we see how that kind of support from both sides can push them forward, you know? And I think that's an extremely important image to have, because Wakanda is not brandishing feminism. Wakanda just is feminist, you know? Women are allowed to be equal. Women are allowed to be warriors and queens and generals and scientists and such. And we see how it looks like a no-brainer to Wakandans, you know? And I hope that is an encouraging image for us, because I think all too often when women are fighting for equality, men are threatened that their position is that the people are trying to take their position. I do not want to see a world where only women are in power. I want to see a world where we can both have power. We can both have a seat at the table as to where our world is going, you know, where I can speak up and I can be heard, and my brother can speak up and he can be heard. And I don't need to thwart anyone in order for my voice to be heard. And I think that's the image of Wakanda that we have in this film. What Wakanda has, it has something so much more pressing than gender issues to deal with. You know, it's got borders to consider. It's got a real shift in its future to consider, and it needs both its men and women to participate in that change that is about to knock down their walls.
Thank you.
Get another mic right here.
My question is for Michael. Did you have any reservations to do the film just because of how Fantastic Four went, and it being a Marvel film, and you kind of, well, the character Johnny being, you know, portrayed the way he was, and I don't know, did you have any kind of like, I'm not going to do another one because the last one was so tumultuous?
Not good. Nah, I had zero hesitation, bro. Like, you know, Ryan gave me a call when we were doing Creed press, and was like, "Hey man, you want to go do this movie?" And I was like, "Cool, let's do it." And I started growing my hair the next day, so I haven't touched it since. Me and Ryan has a really unique bond and relationship, so it's really informal in that way and super tight. It's like making a movie with, you know what I'm saying, your brother, one of your best friends. But yeah, man, I mean, I'm a fan of comic books. I'm a fan of Marvel, fantasy, you know, escapism, you know, when it comes to, you know, to comic books and stuff like that. So when I saw an opportunity to get another crack at it, I mean, I was all for it. You know, Fantastic Four was a humbling experience. And then also a learning experience also. It's like a film has so many moving pieces and so many moving parts and so many things has to go right. Stars literally have to align for a movie to get made, that let alone be successful, you know? And then doing it, yeah, that was its own thing. So to answer your question, nah, I had no reservations whatsoever. I knew I was gonna work with my brother and shit, so it was gonna be dope. Can we curse? My bad.
You did it. You did it. Don't ask after you've done it, Michael. You've done it. Can you pass the mic behind?
I got a question. I think it's for all of you. I think everyone in here, even those who haven't seen the film, already know Black Panther's made an impact in terms of just the power of seeing positive black images everywhere, knowing the film's done so well, and we haven't even seen it. We know it's going to be great because in our hearts we just know the impact's been amazing. But I want to know is, when did you guys know that it was going to make such an impact? I mean, it was probably before us because you'd seen what you was doing. But when was that moment that each of you said, you know what, this film's going to be crazy massive?
I think for me it was when we first had our first table read. I looked around me and that
was powerful.
Yeah, that was and you wore a T-shirt. What was that T-shirt you wore? It was
Hope it wasn't Primark.
No, it was something about hands up.
Oh no, it was I Can't Breathe shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't
And
Breathe
then he wore a I Can't Breathe shirt. And we were in this room and it was all white, and we sat around in these sofas and we had the scripts for the full scripts, you know, not the full draft, the final draft still being worked on every day. But I looked around and I was like, God, wow, you're doing something here, because these people are so talented and I'm fresh, I'm fresh, you know, so I'm still working, I'm still grafting and learning. But I looked around me and I saw in everybody's eyes and I felt everybody's hearts was so in this. And I knew that this story was going to be in good hands and everybody's coming together for the right reasons. We can't tell the future, but I knew that everybody was on the same page in terms of loving the project enough to come together and make it. And it was a room full of like bad boy actors. I was like, wow. So I knew then that something special was about to happen.
For me, I knew from the moment that Ryan walked me through the script when he was pitching it to me that it was going to be special. Because it wasn't what I expected a superhero film to be. Like the subject matter, he was keeping it real and really.
Marvel, y'all gonna let us say that?
I know, yeah. It was just like, are we sure? Like, did they greenlight this, or is this just your wish? You know. And he was like, yeah, no, it looks like that's what we're gonna shoot. I was like, oh, I'm crossing my fingers. Maybe I hope it makes it to the final edit. But I do remember, and it's been degrees of realizing, wow, this is big, wow, this is big. I've always known it's special, but how impacting, I think every single time, every single image I see, a new, cosplay, whatever, it starts to really resonate. And I don't think we can tell how big it's gonna be. But I will say one day we were shooting Warrior Falls. There's this big scene, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's the coronation of the king. I'm not spoiling it for you, I promise. But it's in the trailers, and it's a waterfall, and we're all on the cliffs of the waterfall, right? On the stones of the waterfall. And when we were filming, it was long filming that scene. Oh my God, we were filming it for like 2 weeks or something like that. But during takes, we were just chilling, all of us. It was hundreds of extras and the main cast, except for him because he wasn't there yet. But and then the drummers for the scene between takes started to drum to Snoop Dogg's Drop It Like It's Hot, right? And so then all of us, it just like a wave, we all start going, and it was amazing. It was amazing. But what I realized, I started to get goosebumps because I realized, my God, right now, all of us in this scene, we are Black people from everywhere making this film. We are from Guyana, Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Rwanda, Ghana, Nigeria, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, America, Canada, Germany, the UK, and we are all on these cliffs telling this story. This is Pan-Africanism, and our story is about Pan-Africanism. It's about reaching to each other and realizing how much we have in common and working together. And we are all working together. We've all been brought together by this thing called Black Panther. And here we are on these cliffs, and we are united in our experience of popular culture, and we're united in Snoop Doggy Dogg.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. Yeah. And that's powerful, And so now we are inviting all of you to that waterfall every time you watch this movie, When you come to see this movie, you are becoming members of Wakanda, you know? And that is just so powerful that you leave this film feeling like, wow, we are so much closer than we ever realized.
Give the best answer.
Yeah, how can I follow that? It was like, she said it all. No, but just building on top of that is, there was different stages of realizing how special the film was. When first coming on board, realizing the cast. Actually, the table read was definitely one as well. But after seeing it, like you said, it's like we're so much closer than you expect. The conversation between African Americans and Africans and the disconnect for such a long time of not feeling close to the continent or not feeling like we had, that much in common, or even from the UK and the US, you know what I'm saying? It was a bridge. It just felt like it was a gap that was there. We're so much closer than, we're so much closer together, and just generationally speaking, our generation is going to start to talk more. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's going to be more trips, back and forth to the continent. There's going to be more of a bond. And I'm really curious to the conversation that's going to come and stem from that, and after watching this film, it was like, man, it's crazy. Man, I need to go to Ghana now. I need to go to Zimbabwe. I need to go to Nigeria. I need to go see what it's like. I want to go invest. I need to go buy something. I need to go connect. And I just wonder how many other people are going to feel the exact same way and what's going to happen to, for future generations to come. So it's a really special project.
Also, I think we've got time for one more question.
Just make it a great one.
Let's go to Adele.
Sorry, this is the last question. It's quite boring as well. Do apologise. First of all, thank you for making this film. I can't wait to show my nieces. Like you were saying before, representation, strong women. And speaking of strong women, Dotty's right. You're all buff. What was the training like? Oh, yeah. You all look like you can get busy.
Well, thank you. That's not a boring question. We had fun getting, you get it? No? Okay. Let me speak for myself.
It was hard.
It was hard. No, it was definitely hard. We got there like 6 weeks early to start boot camp with the stunt team, and we would work out together as a group, warm up together, and then we'd branch off into our individual styles. Our characters fight. The way our characters fight says a lot about the characters. So for me, Nakia, she's a war dog. She's an undercover spy. And she's traveled the world. So her fighting is influenced by different martial arts like Salat and capoeira, jiu-jitsu, judo, that kind of stuff. Ryan described her to me as being street in her style. So that influenced the way I fought and the things I needed to learn. She's also a by any means necessary kind of chick. So, she'll use guns, she'll use shoes, she'll use glass, she'll use whatever. So I needed to get that versatile and that aware. And getting the fighter mind I think that's half the battle, just thinking like a fighter, because you have to be aware of space in a different kind of way, and reactive and in a different kind of way. And and then it was a strict diet. I was eating actually more than I've ever eaten before. It was like every 3 hours a meal. Oh gosh. And then after the 6 weeks, I went home and I couldn't fit in my clothes. My muscles were so big I couldn't fit in. And I was like, I don't think this was the point. I think, I'm all for being strong, but can we just tone it down a second? So I had to readjust my diet in order to respond, because my body was responding in a very certain way to the physical exertion. But the more I got into the fighting, the more I felt like Nakia, the more capable I felt. And there were times when the stunt team would show me what I was supposed to do, and it involved flipping and jumping and taking people down. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't do that. And they'd teach it to me piece by piece. And then by the end of the session, I was doing the whole thing, and I just felt so invincible, I was like, I could take anyone down. Yeah.
And that is all we have time for. Please, a round of applause for our incredible Marvel Black Panther cast. Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, and Michael B. Jordan.
And of course, to you lot, thank you very much.